everybody, it's Nan here. Today I thought I'd make this video in the garden because it's mid-November, it's cold, but it's gloriously sunny. However, a bit too cold for me, so I'm in my studio. You didn't know I was an artist? No, neither did I until 5 years ago. Anyway, the story today is called Holidays from Hell, and I'm sure we've all had them. This one is from some years ago in 1972. My first husband Len and I booked a cruise on a small ship to go to the Canary Islands. No, not a big cruise ship. They were for the rich only. Yes, today you can get on a nice big floating city. Most people can. But in 1972, it was a small ship that actually transported tomatoes from the Canary Islands. Also would take 20 passengers. One of the passengers was Jim Bowen. You may know of him. He hosts the programme Bullseye very badly, and because of that it's become a cult programme that lots and lots of people follow. Anyway, he and his wife, they had 2 children similar ages to our 2 children, so we palled up with them. I hadn't known before booking that I suffered from seasickness and was about to find out the hard way. So we just left the dock and I realised that I had to stay in my cabin horizontal. I did, although I was there for all the voyage, I used to try and get up for meals, and I used to get into the dining room, and Jim Bowen, perhaps a little unkindly, used to count down from 10, and I never made it past 3. I used to have to rush out back to my cabin, back to horizontal. Anyway, we had to go around the Bay of Biscay. Now that's notorious for being a bad crossing, and the captain, the Greek captain, said it was the worst crossing he'd experienced in 20 years. At the time, he was in the dining room and the ship lurched, and I mean lurched, right over, and he swore, of course all in Greek, rushed out to go back to the bridge to take over because it was so horrendous, and the ship just lurched and went this way and that way, and it was dreadful storm, huge waves. And in the dining room, my children and husband were there. The furniture was just sliding down and sliding back, and the tables that are usually bolted to the floor, they'd all come loose, and the chairs, and so of course all of it was sliding down and back. My son Graham, who was I think about 8 or 10 at the time, no, about 8, he was on an upended table like a battering ram or a sled, sliding down, crash, sliding back. My daughter Lorraine, who was about 6 or 8, I can't remember, a steward was holding her really tightly and holding on to a pillar to keep them safe. What was I doing? I was lying in my bunk, clutching onto the sides. The suitcases and everything that was loose was also sliding down, sliding back. And all I thought of was, thank God, the ship's going to sink. I'm going to die. I will welcome that. Thank God. Now, that doesn't say much about me as a mother, does it? So you draw your own conclusions from that. We finally arrived at the Canary Islands, and oh, the joy of getting on still, dry land. My legs were a bit wobbly for a while, but I managed to enjoy the few days we were there. We went out on a coach tour, and we had a really lovely time. And then it was time to get back on board. I dreaded it, absolutely dreaded it. And of course, the minute I got back on board, I was ill again. Back to the cabin for the whole journey back. And then when we finally arrived at the docks in Liverpool, we weren't able to leave because during that dreadful storm, one poor passenger had a heart attack and had died. So we had to wait 3 hours for a coroner to come on board, certify the death and do all the paperwork. Then we were able to leave. And as we were on the coach going back, my husband unfortunately had the job of telling me that my stepfather had died while we were on holiday. So didn't have a happy ending for hardly any of us. Funnily enough, Jim Bowen, I saw an article by him in a TV magazine some years later, and he'd labelled it The Holiday from Hell. And I think he said not only was it awful and this poor passenger had died, but his fellow passengers were a miserable lot. I wonder if he was talking about me. Probably. Anyway, that's that story. Bye everybody. See you soon.